The next call is a split call. Jan Logie, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rise to take a call on behalf of the Green Party on the Education Legislation Bill. And the Green Party continues to oppose this piece of legislation. As has been mentioned by other speakers, we've struggled to find any compelling reason for this legislation and struggled to see any coherence in the provisions that are being put forward. What this bill does is it will, several things really, it will enable a principal to manage more than one school. It will make changes to school opening hours. It will enable tertiary education institutions to sponsor charter schools. And it will enable those charter schools to have their students use the facilities of a state-funded school. And it will enable home-based early childhood education services to offer out-of-school care services as well. And it will create a new category of teaching position which will enable unqualified teachers to enter our school system. Presumably having the similar responsibilities to teachers, formerly qualified teachers with educational training, but without the experience and qualifications. So there are, if you look at all of those different provisions, it is really hard to see what the common thread is. And it is also very hard to see where the arguments from some of the speakers from the government, where they're saying this government is all about putting the children first. It's really, really hard for me to see how enabling a principal to manage more than one school is putting the interests of the child first. I really struggle to see how enabling a tertiary education institute to sponsor a failed charter school concept is putting the interests of the child first. And I really don't see how enabling ECE, home-based ECE services to provide after-school care as well is putting the child first either. And I would like to speak a little bit more on that point, because I think it does need talking about, because home-based care has proliferated under this government. There's been a more than doubling of home-based ECE services since 2000 to 2013 to over 20,000 places now. And they are services that get the same amount of funding as, say, kindergartens, where they are trying to have 100% fully qualified teachers. A home-based service, which in effect in many instances is just a childcare arrangement, gets the same funding as an educational service like a kindergarten. And there is most home-based services have a teacher sitting off somewhere else who is qualified. And that qualified person sitting way over there on the end of a phone may oversee 20 different home-based services where there may be 80 children across those 20 different centres with only one qualified person sitting somewhere over there, and the same funding is provided to that service and those children supposedly as to a kindergarten where they're trying to have 100% qualified teachers because they know that that is what will set those children up for life. And now this government is introducing into that very, very chaotic system the ability for those same providers to provide after-school care. So you've got a dynamic where you've got babies and you've got very young children, and now you have older children all in the same mix, supervised by one person without any qualification whatsoever, with external supervision way out there from one teacher for over 20 services. That in no way puts the interests of our children first. I was at a kindergarten yesterday, and because of that funding system that's been set up, kindergartens now are having to fundraise to provide paint for their children, an essential ingredient in the learning and play of our children, and they are now having to fundraise to provide it because of this system, and the government in this legislation is just making it worse.
I call the Honourable David Cunliffe, 5 minutes.